What's up, everyone? It's Dan with Main Deck, and I'm here with Jason from the Galactic Ambition podcast. How's it going, Jason?
Oh, wonderful. How about yourself, bud?
I'm doing great. I'm excited. I mean, I just opened a showcase.
Yeah, you just opened a showcase, so you're in a great mood.
I gotta right
gotta
here.
Show it off. Yeah, you gotta show it off.
Yep. Super excited about
so
this.
Sick. That was so
absolutely
sick.
Will not influence today's tier list at all. How could it?
No. I have some doubt.
Yeah. We'll see when we get there. Everyone, welcome. We are doing something that I thought would be a lot of fun. Actually, Jason brought this to me, and I thought this is a really great idea. We should do a dual tier list. But the really fun thing about this is that Jason and I, rather than being extremely high-end competitive players, not bad, but not winning the PQs like Sunny or anything, we are a couple of judges who are just going to give our takes on all of the leaders in Jump to Lightspeed and Set 4 of Star Wars Unlimited. And we're just throw them onto a tier list and see if you guys agree or disagree. What I can promise you is that this will be the most efficient tier list you'll watch because there's two tier lists at the same time.
Unless someone's doing like three.
There's no one that's going to do it.
Oh my God, unheard of. But yeah, no, this is really exciting. This would be a lot of fun. You may agree, you may not agree. Let us know, obviously, what you think. I know Dan and I are probably not going to agree on some of these, so it'll be really exciting to see that.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of excited to just kind of knock these out and get these cards in my hand, dang it.
Yeah, I want to. There's so many decks.
We're
so many decks I want to build. Like even if it's a leader that I think we rank lower, that might actually be one of the leaders I'm most excited to build and play, and I might do a deck profile and stuff for it. None of this is like, oh, this is unplayable trash. The set's awful. Just at the end of the day, some of these are going to be more competitive than others. Some are going to take a little more effort to make competitive, and some are going to just be like for fun at locals.
Yeah.
But still fun, right?
So we should probably quantify these tiers, right? You
see
4 tiers. So we've got S, which I think Dan will agree is like, this is the best of the best. This is going to stuff that's likely going to make a competitive splash in our opinions and likely be mainstay contenders. You have A, which is still really good, likely going to be excellent in the meta as well. Maybe not as strong as the top X amount that are going in the S tier.
Maybe like ones that they'll top cut, a sector or a PQ or something, or potentially like you'll see one in a sector maybe. But they're not the ones you're going to see at like topping every single event.
Right. Yep. And then you have B, which is the kind of stuff that you're probably going to do okay with. You'll probably do well at locals with it. You'll be excited to build a deck with it, probably have really good synergy, stuff like that, but probably not one of the big meta dogs. And then you have C, which is, it's worth checking out, worth exploring, have fun, enjoy it. It's probably something I may not explore or others may not explore, and things that probably have a little more room to grow, a little more time in the oven.
The fun tier.
The fun tier. Yeah, like see how fun it is to play those cards.
See how fun it is to lose a game with them.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. Yeah. I've seen some other tiers where they go into like E and all that other stuff. I think 4 tiers is good enough. And I believe when we talked about this our tiers will be in order of where we think they will be within their tier. So
yes,
that is gospel, and you're not allowed to think anything different.
Exactly. Yep.
Glad we got that out of the way.
That's how tier lists work. All right. So Jason, let's without further ado, let's just jump in. Let's start ranking some stuff for the people. If we're just going to go in order here, we're starting off with all of the Vigilance leaders.
Yeah.
So we have Asajj Ventress. So Asajj is really interesting, kind of our grit leader here, who allows you to deal damage to friendly units, damage to enemy units, and then flips, gets some piloting, some grit, some good stuff.
Yeah, good keywords there. I guess I could start with this. I think it's pretty fine. Starting with the front side ability, the front side ability is actually really sweet. I think you can grind out a fair bit of value with just that no extra resources outside exhausting to dealing 1 to a friendly unit, put 1 point of damage somewhere else in the same arena, obviously enabling your grit units in the early portion of the game before you decide to flip Asajj, and then maybe put extra points of damage on things that you maybe need that extra point because, for those who don't turn into Galactic Ambition, part of the Main Deck podcast family, we are a big fan of punching up. And Asajj kind of makes those numbers a little bit better in your favor, putting that extra point of damage out. So I like that. As far as flipping, I really wish this did not flip at 6, even though the stat line is good. I think that's what's really holding this card back, unfortunately. It's a solid stat line, and 4/6 grit for 6 it's fine. And as the upgrade as well is also fine, like +3, +4. But I do feel like it's going to just be a little too slow.
So let me say that I think there's going to be a recurring theme across some of these leaders. For me, when a leader flips at 6 but doesn't have at least 7 health, that to me is a real problem. It's so much easier to get to 6 using things like surprise strike or even shoot first, or just raw like Plo Koon, like just boom, like coordinate ambush. I took it out. Then 7, that extra 1-on-7 gives you like it increases the percentage of games where this leader goes out and actually gets to like attack in something by like 50% or something. It's like huge.
Yeah. It's nuts.
So at 6, like I'll forgive a leader at 5, right? If you're at 5 and you flip as a 6 health, like, okay, it's a little harder to take out. At 6, I don't think that grit on that side does anything most of the time. I think though, you might be underselling the piloting here. And that's going to be a weird thing going also throughout this list is like, we don't have a lot of experience, a lot of understanding with how piloting is going to impact the metagame exactly. So we're just kind of guessing.
Yeah, we kind of have an idea, like, and real quick, I guess we can throw it out of there. My idea is that piloting is going to be super insane, or you're getting 2 for 1 a lot of time.
Yeah, it's probably going to be pretty polarizing like that.
It's going to be, I don't think there's going to be a very variable in between. And the way I'm rating most of these is thinking, and unfortunately, that you will likely get 2 for 1. And what is the value I'm going to get before I get that 2 for 1?
Okay, well, that's going to be really interesting because I'm probably going to think more on the other side of things. It certainly is a vulnerability, but the stats on ships get really big pretty fast. And the fact that they become a leader turns off a chunk of other removal that would actually deal with them, where I almost think you're more likely to get a hit in when it's on a vehicle. The problem is just having the vehicle in play in the first place. Okay, so let's, Jason, with all that said, where do we put Asajj? Why don't you
personally start? I think Asajj is really close to being like a pretty, I think it's going to be a sweet meta store brew, bring it to your locals kind of ping deck, grit deck, but I think she's going to be the first one that's going to go into B tier for me.
Okay, I was going to say B tier too. I feel like you could do some really cool stuff with Asajj. I'm not positive it's all there to be like consistent and powerful. It's just a little too like reliant on things kind of coming together, and grit is it's a risky mechanic in general. If you're trying to build towards all the grit units, the whole idea is that your things do a lot more damage, but die a lot easier because they all have damage on them.
And really, if we're and to real quick add on that, if we're going to play a grit leader, we already have a really, really good one in those same colors.
Yeah.
Like, it's really hard to sell me off of playing that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But it's still a sweet card though.
That's fair. All right. Yeah. Next one. Let's talk about Grand Admiral Thrawn.
All right.
So Grand Admiral Thrawn, we got him displayed on screen here, but all about when defeated abilities, lets you double use when defeated abilities. And that's his whole thing. Flips on 6 is a 4/7 Imperial official. I'm going to start on Thrawn.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think Thrawn's going to be really strong. I think they pushed a lot of when defeated abilities into the set that are pretty potent. I think it's some pretty crazy end game plays. And I think a lot of cards with when defeated abilities are not costed. They're not costed like when enters. They're like, you don't have to pay as much to get a when defeated ability on a card.
They're not nearly as front loaded in their cost for sure.
And generally the idea is that if your thing doesn't die, well, you're going to win the game. Right.
Exactly.
So I think I rate Thrawn pretty highly. How about you, Jason?
I think Thrawn's arguably one of the best leaders in the entire set.
Yeah.
There's so much game with when defeated, just in this set alone. Like, and you kind of took the point that I was going to make right out of what I was going to say. You make a really good point, though. You usually, when you play a when defeated unit, you usually are not spending in terms of much as resource or like power and toughness cost on it. in your stat lines and stuff like that, you're usually still getting either a really well statted unit versus something that might cost a little more because you're getting an immediate effect. So double dipping on all that is just super strong. And like you said, the late game gas that you'll have with Thrawn is just truly disgusting if you could just keep that gravy train rolling. And he's in the right colors to just capitalize on all that too. Just out the gate.
And he's a 6-drop leader with a 4/7 stat. He's got the
Yes,
7
stat line. He hit the magic number for you.
Yep, he did. So for me, I think I'm going to right away Thrawn and Thrawn an S tier. I think this guy is going to be a top level meta contender.
Yep, I'm right there with you. He's going to S for me. He is just going to really cause some problems if you allow that kind of grindy game to go out and where he's just going to get crazy value. Like imagine just getting like a double annihilator trigger for some reason, like just stuff like that, like magical Christmas land stuff is a reality with him because of just how he's in the colors to do that. And just, he has the stat line to stay alive. It's just, and he grinds out the value early just with his front side.
And I mean, not to go too much longer on him, but you are able, there's going to be, I think, several different builds and several different aspects that are potentially viable, but we have to go back to ECL, Energy Conversion Lab, one of the strongest cards in the game. You'll be able to do some pretty dumb stuff with certain units that you can ECL in, take something out so the unit gets immediately defeated, double activate its when defeated trigger. It's going to be kind of gross.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Really exciting to see Thrawn take a foothold in the metagame because I definitely think he's going to be a problem.
All right, next up we have Lando Calrissian. Lando's a wacky, kind of a wacky leader, honestly.
Is kind of a card in Star Wars Unlimited trading card game.
Yeah,
for sure. Like one of the cards of all time.
Yep, he's got an action to play a unit from your hand, and if you control a ground unit and a space unit after you do that, you get to give a shield token to a unit. You just have to pay 1 and exhaust him for that. So he kind of wants you to play to both. The idea, you got the ground assault on Endor, you got the space above Endor, and then when you go to the flip side, you can pilot something. If he does deploy as an upgrade, you get to give a shield token to a unit in a different arena. So again, you want the ground space. Otherwise, he just applies as Sentinel, and he gives Sentinel to whatever he pilots as well. But he's got a big 5/5, which is like a huge piloting stat
upgrade. Yeah, it is a meaty upgrade for sure. I'll take the reins on this one. This card is just a little too much for me. I don't know. It's just not, it's too conditional to really feel worthwhile, to really get the maximum value out of this card. Deploying at 7, not great. That is a meaty stat line though, as a pilot. Like I will say, deploying at 7 as a pilot is fine with that stat line, but you need to just get to that point of the game with a leader ability that you really have to synergize and build around, while you could be getting hammered in one arena and you're not able, like, I don't know. I feel like it's going to alter the way you build your deck in a way, just so you could try to grind out as much value on the front side. I don't see myself playing this card.
Yeah, the fact that he needs both arenas is going to be kind of disruptible. Like the opponent's going to be able to they know when Lando's coming and they can try and play to disable his ability. I do think it's pretty cool. You can pay 1 and exhaust him to get that shield token. Now, like similar to Luke Skywalker from set 1, you're able to put shields on things for 1, but it's not limited to just heroic units this time. It's anything, which is kind of cool, but you do have to be playing to both arenas, which I think it's asking probably too much to have him play at once. I think it's asking a lot of your deck to be built a certain way, to your card draws to come up a certain way. His leader side is a powerful Sentinel, but we also haven't seen Sentinel leaders do anything yet. I was really high on Obi-Wan right away, but Obi-Wan was, not great. I think Lando's probably more impactful on the game than Obi-Wan. So I think that there's a plus
for sure. Yeah.
I don't think he's I don't think he's the worst leader of all time, but he's kind of clunky. And for me, I think that's going to put him in C tier ultimately. How about you?
Yep. I'm right there with you. He's going into C tier. I bet his showcase is going to look sweet.
Oh yeah.
I bet his showcase is going to be an S tier. If this was a showcase tier list, I haven't seen it yet. I bet it's sweet. Unfortunately, this is just a really weird deck opportunity building cost here for this card that is very telegraphed by deploying this leader, and your opponent could probably play around that pretty well. Seems seems like it's like a little much for me to want to try to build around.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Moving on, we got Rose Tico. Rose Tico is our final vigilance leader, who is a 5 flip, 4/6 when she flips. On the front side, she's got action, exhaust, heal 2 damage from a vehicle that attacked this phase. And then on the flip side, on attack, you may heal 2 damage from any vehicle unit. It's kind of we've started to see, as the set's been revealed, more of these cards are like self-damaging things like Red Squadron X-Wing and stuff, filtering in, which is kind of nice to see a little more juice here. But she's really about trying to control the board, right? Attack with things, take some damage back, and then heal that damage back up and try and kind of accrue value over time by repairing your ships. Jason, does Rose do anything for you?
No, but I don't think she's a bad card. I actually don't think it's a bad leader. I just don't see like you're playing this leader to like heal yourself up after being chippy in the arenas, leveraging maybe some, like you said, we do have the vehicles that now that when they enter play, they're damaged or think to synergize like that, and that's great. Deploying at 5 is fine with the stat line. I don't think it's a terrible card by that metric. Like a 4/6, I'm okay with. Unfortunately, I don't like. All right, I'm going to heal 2 damage from this vehicle. Like, okay, well, I'm just going to kill spell it, or like obviously, things like that. A lot of the removal in this game is super hard, or something slamming into something super hard. So Rose really kind of just feels like you're going to have turns where you're just going to attack with your 4/6 do nothing. I don't think the design is bad, and I don't think it's a bad card. I just don't think it's going to be very like suitable within the metagame.
Okay, where do you rank Rose then?
Rose, unfortunately, is going to go into C tier as well, but she is above Lando for me.
Okay, this is going to be, I think, our first time where we're going to diverge a little bit then.
Cool.
So okay. Look, again, I'm not saying that Rose is the top meta or anything here.
No,
but I think there's an interesting place for her as we are moving into Jump to Lightspeed and getting a lot of effects like indirect damage that are coming in here. And we have decks already like Django that are always trying to do little pings and things like that. There's certainly room. Bosk also another great example.
Bosk for sure. Yeah.
There's a world now where if Bosk is a deck that's being played and you roll up to locals with your Rose deck, that boss goes, well, what am I supposed to do now? Death mark your thing and you just heal the damage off of it the next turn.
Thanks.
It's certainly, she's actually got an interesting place, I think, where she can disrupt some decks that are fairly popular and fairly potent, because damage sticking around is a core mechanic in the game. And the 2 heal on Rose is a lot more than the 1 heal on Obi-Wan. Like,
oh, absolutely. That's huge.
Likewise, the deploy on 5 that's like a breakpoint number where I see anytime the leader has deploy on 5, I go, well, hang on a second, because that comes out early enough now to really like kind of throw a pun intended, throw a wrench into things.
Oh, nice.
For the opponent. So for that reason, I'm going to put Rose. Rose might be lower in B, but I'm going to put her in B because I think with the right vehicles, I think there's a pretty solid little deck here. And the best thing is that you're going to win with Rose, and for some players, that's just going to make them really good.
Yeah, that's a topic for another video, but absolutely, you are going to get some extra points on the leaderboard for doing that.
Yeah. Cool. All right,
cool.
Let's move on to Command. This should be a fun one.
All right. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. When has Command ever been bad?
Yeah.
Not today. So we're going to start with Admiral Piett. Admiral Piett is on his front side, he's got the exhaust, the ability to exhaust, play a capital ship from your hand. It costs 1 less. Epic action, deploy at 5 resources as a 2/7 with, on his flip side, each capital ship unit you play costs 2 less. Jason, it's kind of like capital ship tribal here, right? Like what's, is this a deck? Do we have the ships for this? What's going on here?
I'll do you one better. We have many ships and they're all scary, it feels like. Um, there was a ship they printed in set one. I know it's a long time ago. I don't know if you ever heard it. It's called the Devastator, right?
Oh yeah, I've heard of that
Yeah,
one.
I've
I've
heard of
lost
that
to that
one.
one plenty.
I've lost that one a few times. Well, losing to it on like turn 5 seems markedly worse than how we were losing to it before.
It's disgusting.
Piett has the means to do that, and even if he can't do that, and have those Christmas Land plays where he gets to it, which really is not Christmas Land. Like it's very feasible that he can deploy these very scary ships on turn 5 because of super laser tech, resupply, the new resupply carrier that you
I was
can
going to
use as
say
action.
Good thing he doesn't have a way to resupply that's also a capital ship.
Yeah, because if they printed that, like who did? Piett's going to be a problem. Even if he doesn't curve out in those ways, he's still going to discount really strong, really powerful units, and he's also in the best color in the game, I guess. And you have
Yellow?
access to overwhelming barrage. I was going to say magenta, but it's actually green.
Oh,
so
okay.
yeah, command. Having access to overwhelming barrage with these nasty baddie ships, and just it's going to be a wealth of destruction and misery with all these giant capital ships at reduced rates. He's going to outvalue a lot of games once it extends from the early points of mid game and beyond, and probably try to close it out before it even gets to a late game with really sick plays. I think I could talk about this leader for another 10-20 minutes and just point out each capital ship I want to play with it. He's the first deck I'm building.
I think he's going to have one big weakness, which is that he just isn't going to have much of an early game.
No, you need to ramp it.
Playing super laser techs and stuff is not really going to get you through an aggression aggro deck or something. Nope. And it certainly seems possible to just run him out of the game if you go fast enough. So I don't think he's going to be a Boba Fett style situation.
No.
But certainly, if you're going to go to locals week 1, you're going to see this deck, and it might just stomp you. Yeah, without a doubt. I think Piett's an easy S tier.
Yep, I agree. He is above Thrawn right now, but if I flip a coin, I'd probably swap him.
Okay, I put him below Thrawn. I feel like Thrawn's going to have more consistency, the ability to play the game, less like kind of like, did I draw all of the pieces to ramp or whatever?
And me, I just think my grandfather's deck has no weak cards.
Fair.
So
fair.
The Yu-Gi-Oh! Exodia mentality. So I'm all aboard. I'm all in on this guy. I think he's fantastic, fantastic design, and it's going to be really sweet. And he deploys at 5 too.
He does deploy 5 with a 7 HP, which is pretty nuts.
Man.
But he doesn't do anything when he's on board. He attacks for 2. It's
no, that's fine.
But
we get the discount, baby. We get that discount.
Yeah, that's what you want. Let's talk about Darth Vader, who's certainly going to be a bit more imposing when he hits the ground than Admiral Piett.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Our new Darth Vader leader is a command villainy this time with a 5/6 stat line when he's flipped, but on his front side he has action exhaust. If you attacked with a non-token vehicle unit this phase, create a TIE Fighter token, which as we know is a 1/1 space unit. Then when he flips into that 5/6, again a 5/6 on 6, he can either be a pilot, attached unit, give it like Lando +5/+5, and when he deploys an upgrade, you make 2 TIE Fighter tokens, or he can do nothing and just be a 5/6, which is not the first time we're going to see this today.
No, it's going to be a bit of a theme. What do you think?
Vader is, I think, going to be the most powerful mid-range pilot, because that like 6 deploy 5/5 is just a cracked on a unit that might be already in space, ready to go. Already has some decent stat line or something. Like, this is a vehicle, right? It's easy to forget. Like, you think I'm going to put him on his fighter or whatever, which you can do. But you also can just throw him on a big old capital ship and be like, yeah, it's like 15 power now.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's fine. He creates a couple of TIE fighters. So he's actually putting 7/7 on the board when he deploys as a pilot. And all the while he's been putting other TIE fighters in play as well, just by attacking with vehicles. You get to put an extra 1/1 into play. Honestly, it's like his front side is maybe the higher value thing. His deploy is just going to be a big, like, boom, now the threat's on the board. But just this idea that all you have to do is fill your deck with vehicles and then just attack with them. which you're gonna do anyway.
Which you're probably doing, yeah.
You get to keep putting more TIE fighters on board when combined with various effects like well, specifically like his own ship here. Um that's going to just pump your entire board of space units, and you can kind of go wide and do a ton of damage. Um I'm not sure where I think he's gonna be, but my initial inclination is he's not going to be top tier, but he's definitely going to be a playable leader. How about you, Jason?
um, I guess that's like my sticking point. I really like Vader. I like what he brings to the table. I really like you're getting rewarded for playing the game. Like
Yeah.
you're just like you're getting incremental value and extra value just for like on virtue of just what you likely would be doing anyway. Again, his deploy turn is really nasty, especially as a pilot. Spreading out that 7 power across 3 bodies is really cool. Granted, a bulk of it does go to one body, but still, there is merit to spreading it across bodies. My biggest issue with Vader is I don't know where and when I'd want to play him over specific other leaders that might do a little more, like maybe a little more explosivity versus the value you get early. I'm not too sure where I am with that. I think he's really sweet, and I think there's a lot of game to be had with him. I think it's just a really solid card. For me, it's the first card of mine that's going into the A tier.
Okay, that was exactly where I was going to put
First
this
one.
bad boy also.
Extremely solid. You're probably going to get value across most of the game with this card. It's just what decks are really going to like eke out as much of that value to maybe, in like my eyes, play it over a super like explosive leader like what's going to be Piett or something like that.
Yeah, I think you'll have some. I think you'll have some ability to find, especially like over time, as we continue to get more space units and space, like additional cards like Victor Leader that
Yeah.
will buff up more things going a bit wider that are still vehicles. The more of that we get, then I think the stronger a niche Vader carves for himself. But right
Yep.
now, if you just want this fantasy of putting all the TIE fighters in play, you can even do things like ramp to Executor just to get a bunch of TIE fighters out. Um, yeah, I mean, I think number one, it'll be fun, and number two, it is going to have a strong mid game.
Yeah, absolutely.
That I
Like
think
I
is gonna
said,
be
his
pretty good.
deploy turn is going to be very filthy too.
Yeah,
Like
it's going to be a yeah. If you have not
you
kept
no answer, it's a problem.
I mean, the fact is he makes his own fighters to
Mhm.
deploy onto, so it's
Yeah,
going to be really
exactly.
hard. They have to constantly keep your ships
Mhm.
empty the entire time, and not just ships, because it's any vehicle you can attack
Correct.
with. Again,
Yeah.
to get
And
more
I think
vehicles to
Command
deploy.
has pretty good vehicles, I think, but who knows?
Let's
We'll see.
move on to Vice Admiral Holdo.
Yeah.
Holdo is a command heroism leader with action, pay 1, exhaust, give a resistance unit or a unit with a resistance upgrade on it +2/+2 for this phase. Then she flips on 6 to a 3/8 leader with on attack, you may give another resistance unit or a resistance unit or a unit with a resistance upgrade on it +2/+2 for this phase. Um, okay. No, I
I
want
know
you to lead.
no you want me to start with this one because I know you like all right. Um
Yeah, you start.
I guess my biggest issue at Holdo is there enough of a breakpoint to be like, I have enough of these resistance cards to play and
Hmm.
justify playing this leader, and I just don't think we're there yet. We're again, this is if we're talking about Vader with as a card pool grows, Holdo is one of those cards that as a card pool grows, the viability is going to grow for sure.
Yes.
We're just not quite there yet. And the other thing that sticks on me a little bit, this card deploys at 6 and you have to attack with it, does not make me feel that great because there's a couple things that can happen here. Let's say because there isn't this great overload of really good there's resistance units, but are they all worth playing is the other question. If you don't have another target by the time you go to attack with this card or anything like that, you're a 6 mana flip for 3 damage, which is not great. Again, I like what this card wants to do. I just don't think there's room for this card in a metagame to apply it just yet.
So I'm a Holdo fan, just character fan.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
I'm going to build this deck. I'm going to try to make it work. I'm going to have fun. But you're 100% right
Yeah.
now. The pool is not there. And yeah, like you're going to exactly what you said, flip on 6, nothing in play. Here's my 3/8.
Or flip on 6, I deploy or I kill your resistance unit that you were going to target or whatever, and you're just like, oh well, good.
Okay, that said, we're close. Honestly, we're
Yeah.
closer than people think. The Poe Dameron from set 2 is a resistance and cracked. Obviously,
Just
really
really
strong.
good. Yeah.
We have new Poe, BB-8, Snap Wexley. We have we have the Resistance Bomber, who is like the combo card, the magical
Yeah.
Christmas Land card with Holdo, where you can buff it with Holdo, then flip Holdo, then attack, buff it again, then swing it in for 1,000,000 indirect damage, and then attach BB-8 to it and untap it and swing it in for 1,000,000
It's
more
so
indirect damage.
sick.
There's this, it's a cool turn. It's really, really sweet. But it's not going to happen most of the time, realistically.
It sucks. It's not. But...
So and like there's the new black one, there's the old black one, there's certainly are cards like you're gonna fill your deck out, you're gonna fill your resistance deck out with a bunch of resistance cards.
Or maybe you could use the red base and cut the, like we talked about
in the podcast, right? Use Thermal Oscillator, lower your deck size so you don't have to have as much chaff in the deck to really make it consistent. So that helps you find that magical Christmas Land combo with the bomber more often too. Snap Wexley helps you find things like this. Is look. This is going to be a sweet deck. It's going to be fun. And
it's going to be fun.
The fact is that compared to Wat Tambor, that's his name, Wat Tambor, who needs you to lose a unit to then go ahead and like buff something that turn, which is going to be is usually just complicated and annoying to set up and requires multiple actions. Admiral Holdo just having pay 1 +2/+2 something every single turn it's not that different than we'll talk about Poe later, who's also pay 1 to +2/+1 something kind of every turn. But then whenever the thing dies, then he comes back exhausted. So you can't do it again the next, that right away or whatever. So it's like a little, it's not bad. Honestly, this
it's really not.
It's actually high value for the cost. And then the ability to combine it with the attack adds a +4/+4 is like actually a lot of damage.
Yeah, and then obviously the 3 that Admiral Holdo also brings in, you have to add that into the equation. That's 3 more damage. So we're close.
We're close.
We're both in that consensus. We're close.
I think we just need some resistance units that are really robust and strong. Like if we had a list of things that were like set 2 Poe Dameron, then it'd be like, wow. Yeah. I mean, this is going to be a sweet deck. Right now, for me, I mean, I'm gonna put it at the upper end of C tier. Okay. For me. And it's probably going to stay there because I really want to put her at B. I really think that she's better than people think, but I have to accept that she's probably not.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. And I do think there'll be decks brought to locals with her that will be able to punch some decks out just on that. Like, again, pushing +2/+2 for an extra resource is not anything to shy away from. Unfortunately, she's just needs a little more ingredients in the stew. I'm going to put her right at the top of C tier, though.
I'm pretty sure you're putting her just at the top because of me, and you don't want to make me mad.
No, I mean, oh yeah, I don't want to upset you, heaven forbid. But I genuinely think there's merit to her in like this aggressive early shell with her frontside ability is actually really sweet.
Yeah. She can push a lot,
she can push damage.
It's a lot of damage.
Yeah, she can push a lot of damage really early. It's just if you can't close it out, she feels like a lot of blank text, unfortunately.
Yeah. Okay, so final command leader, we have Wedge Antilles, leader of Red Squadron. This is going to be a command heroism leader with action exhaust. Play a card from your hand using piloting. It costs 1 less, so you need to have pilots in your hand that have piloting on them. But he gets to reduce the cost, which is really cool. And then when he flips, which is turn 5, into either a 3/6 or a pilot that gives +3/+4. When he's a pilot, he has attached unit, is a leader unit. It gains on attack. The next pilot card you play this phase costs 1 less. So he gets to continue to make things cheaper. Pilot tribal, Jason, what's this about?
I'm not too sure.
Yeah,
To be
I
honest
agree.
with you. So first, like in a vacuum, looking at this card, it actually checks a lot of boxes. It deploys at 5. It's a 3/6 for 5 is not terrible. It's as a pilot, like as an upgrade, that is a very good upgrade. +3/+4 for 5 with that ability is fine. I'm not so sure I want to fill my deck with cards that can be 2 for 1. Um,
Hmm.
that's kind of my issue. Piloting in to me, piloting most of the cards right now as pilots in deck construction, outside of Chewbacca, Han, and a couple others, really don't appeal to me very much. Again, I worry that I'm going to deploy these pilots and not get the immediate value or cash out.
Yeah.
So I need to play ones that'll cash out. And Chewbacca is just not gonna, die.
Yep.
We have that. So is pilot tribal worth me bringing this to a local? Absolutely. I would bring a fun pilot brew to locals, probably have a really good time. And again, I think in command, there's going to be a lot of really awesome vehicles for us to pilot. I just don't know if there are enough worthwhile pilots I'm looking to play in the stew yet. It's not for me. I think there's going to be some sort of mad scientist out there that is going to cobble some stuff together, Wedge, and it's going to be really sweet. I just don't think I have the brain capacity for it.
Yeah, I think it's another leader. It's kind of like Mandalorian, where
Mm-hmm.
it's asking you to find two parts of your deck constantly at the same
Mm-hmm.
time and cobble them together into something that just gets 2 for 1
Yeah, it's
every single time.
unfortunate.
If piloting's evergreen, we continue to get more sweet pilots. It can certainly get cool, but I don't think it has the same upper end that some of these, like, it'll get really good later on leaders do.
Mm-hmm.
It at the end of the day, it still just was reducing a pilot cost by 1, and that's still just requiring that you have a vehicle ready to go and you put your
Yep.
pilot on it, and then the pilot doesn't just immediately die. So yeah, I mean, I'm kind of torn, but I think I'm also not too torn. I feel okay putting him. I mean, it really could be B or C, but I think I'm just toss him in. I'm gonna toss him in C because I just feel like a lot like the Mandalorian thing. It's just you don't want to play almost any of these pilots on the ground aside from like Han. Like you
Yeah,
can play them on the ground, and if you need to, you will. But
absolutely.
otherwise, it's at least it's better than Mandalorian. But I think we just need more. We need something cooler to make me like Wedge here.
Yeah. I agree. I think that again, there's not enough going yet, but I do think there is an aggressive enough shell, and the fact that he deploys at 5 and he can push a fair bit of early value and aggression on some things, I actually want to put him in B.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. I think
Fair.
I think there is some merit to that. I think that he can generate a little value. Maybe get, like I said, if you can assemble a little Voltron and not get 2 for 1 early on some of these things and push out as much as you can, I think Wedge can do some damage in that regard. And I think deploying at 5, I give him a little push on that.
Okay. I do think we'll see some leaders that are going to kind of do that thing, but a little better.
Yes,
And
agreed.
that's merely my biggest thing is like, why am I playing Wedge when I have a couple of these other
Absolutely.
options available? Maybe for green though. And maybe that's the whole difference.
Right.
All right, but let's move on. We got 2 more colors to go through, so let's crack on. Let's get Boba Fett out here. Now, this is our first spotlight deck leader, so very easy to get. Everyone will have 1,000,000 copies of this bad boy, probably in hyperspace too, from your pre-release packs.
Mm-hmm.
Boba Fett is this time an aggression leader, aggression villainy with when you deal non-combat damage, you may exhaust this leader. If you do, deal 1 indirect damage to a player, so assign 1 unpreventable damage among their base and units. Epic action on 6, he flips into a pilot or a 4/7 ground unit. At 6, 4/4 if he's a pilot. When deployed as an upgrade, deal up to 4 damage, divided as you choose among any number of units. I've been having you start a lot, so I'll start right away here and say that now when you're talking about flipping a pilot, and getting some value, this
Mhm.
is what we're looking for.
Yes.
Right. This is where I look at Wedge. Now Wedge deploys at 5, right? But and as a 3/4, but we wait one more turn and we get the 4/4, and then we also get like nuke one or
Mhm.
multiple things on board. I will wait one turn all day long, baby. It's fine. That's okay. I don't mind. I think his front side is actually really sweet too. Just non-combat damage is so many things. It's force choke, it's open fire, it's any other source of indirect damage as well. You can build with all of these things just to get an additional pling of 1 every single turn, Cad Bane style, right? Which is
Yeah.
like, Cad Bane's fine. Cad Bane's not crazy, but he's certainly playable. But Cad Bane doesn't flip into something that immediately nukes the board as much. He flips into something that sometimes just dies right away also. So it's that immediate value that I think really makes Boba Fett, puts him over the edge a little bit, makes him interesting, plus that ability to deploy into space, which I do think, again, we'll see it, some pretty powerful attacks with. I like him quite a bit. How about you, Jason?
Weirdly enough, I feel like they are really pushing indirect damage in this set.
I wonder how you
Yeah.
got that idea.
I get a lot of Vader vibes, Red Vader vibes from him with the front side.
Yeah.
Like if you build this right, and like you said, there's so many cards that deal indirect damage. You're piling on an extra 1 every turn, and Vader. I mean, I had to pay 1 to get that. And like I said, we're looking for immediate value on these pilots. This is on a silver platter. This is just you get a nice meaty set of sets for a 4/4, and you get to push 4 however you like out. This card is just, I mean, you kind of said everything you say. Boba is sweet, and I definitely think you're going to see people bring Boba to the table. It's going to be really nasty.
Yeah, I agree. Where do you rank him?
Boba is going to jump ahead Mr. Vader here in the A tier.
That's exactly where I was going to put him too.
He
Yeah,
is
makes sense.
so close to being the S tier, but I do not think he's quite as explosive as Piett, or going to grind out the game and get you through to the finish line like Thrawn.
Yep. I feel, nailed it. Perfect.
But
Let's just move
sweet
right on.
card. Sweet
Couldn't
card.
say it better. Well, I can say one thing. You can still play Boba Fett's armor if you want to
the
deploy
card's
him to the ground.
pretty decent, yeah.
Which is that's a cute thing you can do. Captain Phasma is our next leader, our other aggression villainy leader. She is she has action exhaust. If you played a first order card this phase, deal 1 damage to a base, and then deploys on 5 for a 4/6. With on attack, if you played another first order card this phase, you may deal 1 damage to a unit. If you do, deal 1 damage to a base. What was that you were saying about Vader again?
Yeah, right? Huh, weird.
Phasma, though, is quite a bit more aggressive, deploying earlier. But also, instead of just working off of any villainy cards, she wants you to specifically play first order cards, of which there are some.
There
are some. Very similar to Holdo, I think, just very, very dependent on the existence of her trait. That said, again, like Holdo, Thermal Oscillator, right? Like Thermal Oscillator, double red, Captain Phasma, that slim deck, making sure you find first order cards. It's not like every card you play has to be first order, right? It's just that you want to have 1 first order card to play every turn if possible. And that could be as simple as a first order Stormtrooper. It's not...
Yeah.
It's going to be pretty easy to, I think, to meet that requirement when you slim the deck down a little bit. And then that mono red aggression is actually, I think, going to be like fast and scary and strong and push a lot of damage and be able to deal with sentinels and deal with other random threats on board. She deals with any arena, right? 1 damage to any unit when she's attacking on her flip side. Otherwise, it's just doing straight direct damage to the base. Able to kind of, you can get that push off with her, then just kind of coast and close the game out with a couple more damage, as long as they're not blue and healing a lot. I like her. How about you, Jason?
I really like her. I actually was brewing up a shell with one of my locals earlier today when they were shopping at the shop. Command build.
Oh, command! And there's a command Phasma in the set too, who works.
Yeah, there's the
really
command Phasma. There's the first order TIE fighter. because you have patrollers. There's a lot of like there's some really good game there. Again, this is an aggressive leader. Deploying at 5 is early enough to really make a nice impact, getting some value. Again, first order soldiers. I mean, you don't need a lot. You just need to say first order, and it's a bit better than Holdo. If we want to compare it to Holdo, I cash my value out right then when I attack with Phasma. So I'm cashing it out right then versus Holdo, where I have to, oh boy, fingers crossed. I don't have to worry about that anymore. They either need to have it the turn I deploy, or that's it. And then I get to cash out that damage on top of 4 damage pushing off Phasma Alone's attack, which is perfectly fine. And I also think villainy aggression leader with this ability is better than something like Holdo in heroism, which is typically less pushed units in the aggression side and more like kind of a little bit sturdier, a little more willpower to them. I'm a really big fan of this card.
Yep. I like it too. Where do you rank it then?
I think for me, I also am going to put Phasma in A tier. I know there isn't a ton of first order stuff, but I think it's potent enough and the shell is already good to where you're just, this extra value is going to be really sweet, and you're going to be able to do you're really going to be able to push that damage through for like a nice aggressive slant.
Yeah, I'm pretty on board with that. I think lower A tier is where she's going to be. And then with the next set or two this year, I could easily see her moving up to being...
I cheated. I'm putting her in front of Vader, though.
Oh, okay.
I think she's a little better than Vader. I slant towards aggressive leaders, so...
Yeah, we'll see though later in this year, man. I wouldn't be surprised to see Phasma as ranked as one of the higher tier leaders if enough good first order stuff comes out, just because she pushes that kind of...
Again, tribal synergies is something Star Wars Unlimited does really well, and it's one of my favorite parts of the game. And the fact that we're so early into this tribe as a keyword, the first order, it opens up a lot of design space and room for Phasma to grow of what I already think is just a really strong card.
Yeah. Like imagine we just get like some cheap Kylo Rens at like 2 or 3 cost, 3 cost Kylo Ren in the future or something. Like there's so much ability just to throw some random things. They're like, well, actually, now you're just I mean, you already have Kylo's TIE Silencer too, which is just like, which is great, perfect, exactly what you want to be doing.
Yeah.
All right, but yeah, moving on, we have Major Vonreg from the Resistance show. This guy is an aggression villainy leader with action exhaust. Play a vehicle from your hand. If you do, give another unit +1/+0 for this phase. Now he's got the magic number here. Deploy on 4 resources.
Baby.
On 4 resources, you can either deploy him to the ground arena as the mighty 2/5 with no abilities, or you can deploy him as a pilot attached to a vehicle. Make it a leader, and it has +3/+3, and on attack, you may give another unit in this arena +1/+0 for this phase. Speaking of aggressive leaders, Jason, how's this one?
This one's really sweet. There's a greedy part of me that wishes this was a good guy unit.
Sure.
Because I could think, oh man, so bad. Yeah, I want to do it so bad. However, this is still really sweet. This is an obscenely powerful card. This for 4, putting 3/3 on a unit, that's going to give +1/+0 to another unit on attack. They need to deal with that card, or the clock just keeps spinning faster and faster. And on a deploy turn of turn 3, if you can hold it together with just like 2 cheap units and have 1 target for it, it demands answers very, very quickly. It is definitely going to be one of those super fast, I either got the game or they stabilize kind of decks, but I live by that. That's like my MO. I'm really excited to play this card. I think it's awesome. I think it's just great.
This is Villainese Sabine.
Yep.
Is what this is. And if Sabine has been S tier this whole time, I mean, it is vehicle required, right? That's the big thing. Right. You do need to be playing vehicles, but look at the set. I mean, again, we have Kylo's TIE Silencer and stuff from other sets. Like, you don't need A-Wing. You got Silencer. It's that works too. I feel like fine putting this guy in S tier. How about you?
Absolutely. Again, I do not think it's at the top. I actually think it's going to be the one that leads the rear of it. However, I do think this card is going to cause many problems If you thought Sabine was a problem, I still think Sabine is better. However, this is kind of like Villain's version of it. I'm really excited to see what people do with this card.
Yeah. Yep. I agree wholeheartedly. And it doesn't get stopped in the ground arena by a big old dumb sentinel either.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
I think a big thing about piloting too that is going to come up, and I think is really relevant for Major Vonreg in particular, is that your matchup you sit down at a table and you're playing a pilot leader and your opponent's playing a ground leader. You no longer get to like have that thing where like, okay, when they deploy their leader, I'm going to deploy mine, and then we kind of like stand
Like
off and
cat
like,
and mouse.
yep,
Yeah.
can't like attack your leader with my leader. If they are playing a ground only leader and you roll up with Vonreg, you go, cool. I hope they don't draw space, because if they don't draw space, my leader is going to be super uncontested. And even if they do, it's like you still have that advantage of like, it's like when you get to deploy a leader on turn 5 and your opponent's isn't turn 7 or later or whatever. It's like they're going to get possibly multiple turns of just dominating that arena.
Yeah.
And I think that's where, Sabine is better. I still agree, but like, I think Vonreg might be underrated right away just because people don't get the matchup matrix of
Mm-hmm.
pilot versus non-pilot leaders.
Yeah, and again, we're in villainy this time too, so we're naturally going to be a little more aggressive anyway. So I feel like we have more aggressively slanted units that are just going to cause problems. And again, you're exactly right. If they don't have that checkbox in that matchup where they can contest this, it's just going to snowball out of control.
Yeah. Let's move on to Luke Skywalker.
All right.
Luke Skywalker, aggression in this set, aggression, heroism, action, exhaust. If you attacked with a fighter unit this phase, deal 1 damage to a unit. Deploys on 6, either as a ground or pilot. To ground, a 5/6 blank. As a pilot, this upgrade can't be defeated by enemy card abilities. And attached unit is a leader unit. If it's a fighter, it gains on attack. You may deal 3 damage to a unit, +4/+5.
Mm-hmm.
Luke is sort of like continuing the trend of these aggression leaders that are like not looking just to hit face necessarily, but are
Yeah.
like kind of trying to fight the board with damage a little bit more instead. Although Luke has the cool advantage of once you flip him out there, you just like can go for face all the time and then like send some damage to your opponent's units to hold off their aggro to allow you to
Mm-hmm.
kind of close the game off. But as a 6-drop leader, he's also not really what you're looking for in an aggressive deck. You want a 5 or 4 drop
Yeah.
most of the time. Jason, as the resident aggro expert,
So
what's going on with Luke?
I think Luke is sweet, but it's weird that it wants to be a mid-range leader. Like, I don't know. It's first off, this card is not bad at all. This card's actually really cool. Like, thematically, it's sweet. I like that we can't, again, worrying about being 2 for 1. You get to carve off some of that by not having to worry about like stuff like, uh, upgrade removal or anything like that. Like confiscate. Sorry, it was escaping my mind. It is very late.
Yes.
Pulling back the curtain. I think there's something to say about that. His leader deploy on attack trigger is really strong if you can keep that going together. It reminds me of kind of like how Vader is a mid-range leader in this set. I feel Luke is this weird aggression mid-range leader that actually deals with some of the mid-range stuff really well. I don't know. I don't think it's bad at all. I think there's going to be really cool Luke brews, and Luke will do fairly well. I just don't feel like it's this super. I feel like if I'm going to play an aggressive leader, I think there are better options. However, I do think there's game to be had with Luke. I think he's pretty strong.
I think a cool thing about Luke is his ability to kind of match Vader blow for blow. When Vader's putting ties into play, Luke's attacking and then shooting the ties down.
Mm-hmm. That's so cool.
I like that a lot. But yeah, I think Vader is more naturally just like incrementing your value and doing kind of what mid-range decks do. And Luke's got almost an identity crisis where he's just like,
it really is.
Yeah. What is Luke doesn't like really push the envelope in any direction, which ends up putting him kind of in the middle, and an excellent candidate in my mind for a middle of the pack B tier leader.
I'm there with you. I think that if he was maybe deployed at 5 and you carved his stats down just a hair, I think there's a lot more game to be had with this card. I just think for 6, I don't see it. But who knows? I do think people are going to put this card out there and try to play with it, and there's going to be some sweet brews with some pretty cool results. I just, again, identity crisis with this card for me.
Yeah, there are lots of good fighters. The fighter thing isn't even, I think, like a big deal. It's just, it's like deploy is just awkward with everything else I think you're trying to do.
Yep.
And then finally, I know somebody who's got a showcase of this bad boy. We got Poe Dameron. I can fly anything. Our last aggression heroism leader, who's a resistance pilot with action, pay 1, exhaust, flip this leader and attach him as an upgrade to a friendly vehicle unit without a pilot on it. So you can do that any number of times in the game. Pay 1, toss him on something. When he's flipped, he becomes just a pilot upgrade with +2/+1, and has action. Pay 1, attach this upgrade to a friendly vehicle unit without a pilot on it. Use this ability only once each round. And he also could flip as at a turn 5 as a 4/6 if you want that.
Yeah, not bad.
Jason, tell me how good my Poe is. Tell me.
I think your Poe is really sweet. I think it's you're the guy who pulled it. Wow. Yeah. This card is awesome. This card is going to cause so many headaches for players. So like, if you don't listen to Galactic Ambition, which shame on you, you should.
Wow. Yeah, so just shame the new audience into listening.
I'm just kidding. You should.
You don't have to.
We have a lot of fun. You don't have to, but I mean, I'd really like it if you did. I live in Florida and there are mosquitoes everywhere. This reminds me of like a mosquito. Like
sure.
You go to hit it and then, it's back, right? The amount of value Poe will grind out in a game with his ability is going to determine it's going to take these close games and make the math go to Poe just on the extra damage you're going to get for low opportunity cost. Now, that opportunity cost being 1 resource and hoping you don't get, blown out. But we haven't seen something like this where we just get to, okay, I'm going to just do it again. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do it again. It allows you to play like this in a really like aggressive, low to the ground slant and just always have this extra damage push, which in a game about decision making and decision paths, as the opponent, you always have to think about this. Am I ending my sequences? Am I okay with, are they going to be able to sneak that extra 2 points of damage this turn if I sequence this way? Star Wars Unlimited is a game about asking the questions and not having the answers. And Poe is one of those cards to me that's asking a question almost through the whole portion of the game.
I think one thing I want to make really clear for people who are not as versed in kind of how this will operate is that what you really want to be doing with Poe for this, Jason's talking a lot about sequencing and everything. You want to pay the 1 while he's a leader to attach him to a vehicle of some kind, attack, get that damage in, and then use his action on his upgrade side to pay 1 to move him onto another vehicle, attack and get another +2 damage swing off. If your opponent ever passes when you have 2 ready vehicles and a Poe who's also ready, they're about to take a ton of
it's disgusting. So I should have mentioned that. Yeah, it's disgusting.
But yeah, that I think is really the advantage that Poe is going to give as an aggressive leader. You do have to play pretty vehicle heavy, but again, I don't consider that a drawback right now.
No.
We have a lot of good vehicles in the game with jump to light speed. It may put you off of playing certain other super good cards in these aspects, but you're not going to miss them because you're going to be cranking in. He's basically just saying every unit you play, you pay 1. It's kind of like this, the Ray ability or whatever, pay 1 to give it a +1/+1, except you just do it on any vehicle that you play and it's +2/+1. And you can do that goofy little, like, move them around, do extra damage thing that turn too. So I think Poe's great. I think Poe, and just because I pulled a showcase,
Oh, just because? Yeah, that makes sense.
S tier.
Okay. Poe is leading A tier for me because I did not pull a showcase.
Yeah, yeah. It's S for showcase. S is
S
showcase
is for
tier.
showcase, and
S is
A is
showcase
for
tier.
I didn't get the showcase, so
No,
that's why he's
I
going there.
really do like.
Oh, this card is very good.
I don't
I
normally like playing super aggressive decks, but this one's very fun and very like fiddly and cool, and I'm having a lot of fun brewing for it too. It feels strong.
And again, I harped on it, but again, I really think it really messes with your opponent's decision path setting across from this leader. So I really I love that part of the game. It's my favorite part of the game.
Yeah.
So I really am excited for this card, even though I did not get a showcase.
Maybe you will though.
Yeah, maybe I will.
Yeah,
I do have some product open.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, should he be an A? Maybe. I don't disagree with Jason here, but
no, I think there's an argument for S though, like legitimately. But I think that the leaders that we've talked about in at least in my S tier are probably just a little better.
Yeah, I put him at the bottom to be fair.
Yeah.
Okay. Close this out. We've got our cunning leaders.
Cunning, baby.
And we have Admiral Trench. Chick, 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 chick.
If we were talking about the sub names, he's S tier.
S plus tier.
S plus. We'd make our own.
Admiral Trench is a separatist official leader in cunning and villainy with action, exhaust, discard a card that costs 3 or more from your hand. If you do, draw a card. And then has not an epic action, just action, pay 3, exhaust. If you control 6 or more resources, you can deploy them. So you can do that any number of times this game. When you do deploy him, he deploys as a mighty 4/5 with, when deployed, reveal the top 4 cards of your deck. An opponent chooses the first 2 that they don't want you to see and discards them. Then you draw one of the remaining 2 and then discard the last one. It's just what is happening? What is this?
I'm not too sure, but I will say I think the design that it just having this zombie leader is awesome. I love that. On that alone, I think it's really cool. Remember when this got spoiled and everyone immediately was like, "This card is terrible. What were they thinking in this card?" And then no one just happened to look at the bottom of the card where it just said action instead of epic action.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden people were like, "Wait a minute. I could just do this as many times as I have available resources." Well, yes. Is that good? I'm not too sure. I do think there's going to be brews with this guy, and they're going to play the command base, and you're going to have some extra cards in your deck, and maybe you're going to be able to play this weird, grindy, I don't even know, reanimator style. I always have something to slam into something, kind of like, or to chuck at your base or anything like that, kind of deck. And I think on that alone, I think the design space is super sweet. I think his deployability is just, all right, well, you're going to get a card. Great. You spent 3 resources already this turn.
A card.
Is
it a good one?
It might be. Well, if you play all good cards, it has to be a good card.
Yeah,
so but there's your deck building secret, guys.
Wow. Yeah, but the thing is, my good cards that were good on turn 1, on turn 5 or 6 or 7 are not actually good anymore, and my opponent might only let me draw one of those.
That's weird. Yeah, I just think that it's really cool design.
It's a yeah. You know what, Jason? I agree totally. I think that ability to keep putting a 4 or 5 out is underrated. I think
absolutely. I think there's merit to that.
Yep. That you just you can always have. We've played these like Han Yellow games where they just grind, and it's all about just like how many of these 3/5s, these slavers, can I just keep like putting out with tech just to keep stuff on board. He lets you do that on his own, all the while milling you down so you lose the game instead. He's cool, he's fun, but the cool is the important part. C for cool.
C for cool. C for cool flavor for me. I think this card, again, really cool design space. I think it's very neat that it's being explored to have non-epic action leaders.
Yep.
This just one is not quite it, Chief.
Yeah, he's gonna be weird. I put him below the others because I like Lando. I think Lando's gonna be more consistently better than this guy, but
I don't know. I think there is a little. I think there's. I don't know. I love weird stuff like this.
This is so weird too.
So
Like,
I just gonna give it a little extra credit.
we were both saying this guy is better than people are saying, and I think we're both still
No,
saying that.
I think I 100% think he's better than people thought because people didn't read the card.
Yeah.
They immediately assumed. But again, and I messed up his style line earlier, 4 power. I think there's merit to just having access to that.
Yeah.
Granted, the other stuff is just like the card. The card, you're probably, there's a lot of times where you're not even going to be able to use that card that turn. You're going to hold it for next turn because you just cashed out 3 resources to deploy him. It's and hopefully that card is useful for the next turn. I don't know. But C for cool and for
he does let you run Reanimator.
Oh, there you go. I was gonna say you can
stuff, kind of like Afra, kind of cool, but that's still not like super strong. So
yeah, but the Afra enjoyers might be looking at this card as like something to explore with, and I want to see those deck profiles.
Yeah, I mean, sweet. I might mess with them too, but we'll see. We'll see. All right, few more to go through. We have Rio Durant for the solo fans out there representing. Wisecracking Wheelman, a cunning villainy underworld pilot with action, pay 1, exhaust, attack with a space unit. It gets +1/+0 and gains Saboteur for this attack. Epic action, deploy on 5, either as a 3/5 Saboteur. He actually has an ability when you deploy him to the ground. That's cool. Or attach him to a ship. He becomes a leader unit and it gains Saboteur. And if it's transport, it gets +1/+0 alongside the +3/+5. So here we have a 5 deploy +4/+5 on a transport that gives Saboteur also. I'm going to come right out and say that it's the only thing that's holding this back might be the lack of the right transports.
Yeah, for sure.
Otherwise, this is actually like a scary but set of numbers.
Yeah, and Saboteur, like, hello, this is just, it's really spooky. But we just need the right transports. We just really need.
Now, a lot of the bounty hunting ships are transports.
Right, yeah, they are.
And you can run things like Commission to find stuff like that. Find fire sprays if you would want to play them in here. There's a good chunk of transports. I think a lot like Holdo is one of the ones we said earlier, Vader to a degree. As the pool continues to fill out, Rio's the one where like you can wait until like a few months in, buy the showcase for cheaper, and then once it kind of fills out, you can start just like destroying people with your super fast like surprise strike saboteur transports that Rio is piloting. Actually, like really good, like honestly a good aggro cunning leader just needing transports.
Yeah, and this is one of the very few leaders that also is just, this is a very reasonable leader unit. Like actually, like this rate is perfectly fine. 3/5 Saboteur for 5 isn't the best, no, but it's going to be. It will do what it says on the tin. And
5, I will say 5 is pretty low. I mean, as an Afra enjoyer,
sure,
okay, that does not last very long.
No,
but that Saboteur is pretty nice. I just pulled up really quick the transports. I want to run through just for the sake of the discussion.
Yeah.
The punishing one is like if you're playing, you probably want to play red yellow here. Yeah, red yellow. Punishing one, IG. Droid missile platform might be something you play. Hunting aggressor. Oh, Rampart, right? Obviously, he goes on Rampart. He's in that's his ship, right? That's
right. Yeah,
that's what he's for. But Rampart drops as a 3/3. Then he deploys on there to give it +4/+5 to allow it to ready during regroup as well. Houndstooth, Razor Crest, Mist Hunter, Fett's Fire Spray, Shuttle, Stolen AT Hauler, Legendary. Okay, this list is like there's some stuff here, right?
Absolutely.
This is not an unplayable leader by any stretch.
No.
And I think this is a great candidate for top of B.
Top of B? Okay.
Top of B.
Top of B. I have it right here.
Nah.
It's close. I think that the color section that Asajj is natively in is a little suits a little more of a game versus a little bit more of a narrow kind of build that we would have at Rio right now. But again, I think it's a deck that's going to show up to locals and probably beat you up a little bit if you're not prepared for it. Or when it has games where it has a transport vehicle on curve and just gets to keep it and just punch you in the face, I think it'll be sweet.
Well, Jason, you have fun with all of your damaged up units that are just going to die really fast. I'm going to jam onto an AT hauler and swing for 8 on turn 4.
Well, dang.
With Saboteur, and you got nothing that can stand in the way. So
I'm in command, so I probably just killed that unit.
Yeah.
Or not command, I'm in vigilance, so I probably killed it already.
Nah.
Yeah. But anyway.
That's all I got. All right. Moving on to the wonders of Admiral Ackbar. Admiral Ackbar, cunning, heroism leader, rebel official. It's a trap. Action, pay 1, exhaust a non-leader unit. If you do, its controller creates an X-Wing token. Flips into a non-pilot, just a good old 3/8 with on attack. You may exhaust any unit. It could be a leader even. If you do, its controller creates an X-Wing token. This is probably, in my opinion, like the hardest leader to rate in today, because it's just, it's like this weird, wacky, like I can exhaust your things and give you X-Wings, or I can exhaust my own things to create X-Wings, and like a sort of like Vader, but I have to pay 1 for it. And then he can exhaust leaders, which is pretty cool on attack. Like that's pretty powerful. You can exhaust their pilot leaders. Like again, how else are you dealing with some of these big ships that throw a big pilot onto them? And he's got his own tricks, right? He plays with the new home 1 to get a cheap home 1 out of it, which is like, how do we rate how good that's going to be when we haven't gotten all this experience? What do you do with Ackbar?
For me, I keep it in my binder.
Okay.
No. Okay. So, so there is this little mini game where you're exhausting your stuff, you're getting the X-Wings, and eventually you're going to get enough value to just go, okay. Man, it's really hard to articulate how I feel about this card, because It's a Trap is such a sweet card. Just on design space, like, okay, so if I did do my gimmick, I'll get to, I exhausted their guy, I gave him an exhausted X-Wing. Okay, I get to ready all my stuff, and then maybe I alpha with everything, or alpha into the stuff I just tapped down. It's so cool. However, aren't we just kind of doing better stuff in cunning without giving potentially our opponent extra value? I just don't know. This is probably the hardest card for me to evaluate in the entire set.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing I can say, it is 100% a card that I would have no desire to play or will be playing. I just think that the mental gymnastics to play this card just doesn't sit well for me. Ackbar enjoyers, I really can't wait to see your sweet decks and you do cool stuff with it. I just don't know if this is enough to justify bringing this to the table as your leader. But maybe I'm wrong.
No, I mean,
I hope I'm wrong, because maybe I want to see it do something really sweet. I was really I've been wrong about a lot of leaders in the past, but this one just feels really confusing.
We were very wrong about Django.
Extremely wrong.
So earlier you had a phrase, rewarding you for doing things you want to do. Yeah. And Ackbar is like constantly contradicting himself instead. So it's hard for me to put it anywhere but C right now. I'm gonna throw him to C next to Trench. They can be friends together.
I put him at the back of the line for now.
Well, that is next to Trench for me.
Oh yeah, it's next to Lando for me. And now that's not, again, I don't think it's bad. I just don't think it's going to have a home more than anything.
All right, just 2 leaders left. We have our last 2 cunning heroism leaders, starting with Han Solo, the other Spotlight deck leader. So the one you get if you buy the newest pre-constructed deck. Han Solo, Never Tell Me the Odds, is a rebel pilot leader with action exhaust. Reveal the top card of your deck, then attack with a unit. If the revealed card and that unit have different odd costs, that unit gets +1/+0 for this attack. And then he will flip on 5 to either a 3/7 leader on the ground with no abilities, or a pilot that gives +3/+4 with when deployed as an upgrade for each friendly unit that has an odd cost, ready a resource.
Oh boy.
Jason, I feel like this one's kind of odd.
Yeah, yeah. Even so, ho 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 ho. This card. Okay, so we talked earlier about how deck having to like design your deck a specific way for your leader is sometimes comes with the downside of maybe it's a bit too narrow. This is like the definition of narrow, right? But the reward is really, 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 really good. If you could do this right, you get so much value out of this guy. I'm really high up on Han. I just think this card is, first off, it's dripping with like flavor. Like this is
Yes.
such a flavorful card.
Yes.
And the value you can generate this card in the right circumstances is unprecedented, I think, within the game if in the right circumstances. I think this is actually like, I don't know if it's a super hot take, but I think this is sneakily one of the better leaders in the entire set.
Okay. Ooh.
Yeah,
All right. This is gonna be a little spicy.
I just think because I think with the right construction and if looking at the odd units that you can play, there's really good units there. I think that if you can build and sequence and play the right shell to allow the interaction and not mess up your game plan too much, excuse me, you will be rewarded for generating that extra value heartily.
Yeah. So there's Boba Fett vibes here, right? Set one Fett
Sure.
vibes
Mm-hmm.
of this whole like the deploy turn. I'm gonna have a super extended turn. I'm gonna get a whole bunch of stuff. Han Solo, Never Tell Me the Odds, does a really cool thing with his like signature Falcon, getting to
Yeah.
deploy himself and then readying resources to get to deploy like Chewie or a second pilot onto this thing. You can kind of go buck wild, right? You can get a stacked up gigantic super pilot Falcon and smack in for 1,000,000 damage, and you can do that on turn 4, and that's all like that's really sick. The odd cost thing, his front side, first of all, is okay.
Yeah.
It's nothing super exciting. It's where we talked about Holdo getting a +2/+2 even at 1 cost. This is getting a +1/+0 and a little bit of action compression
Mm-hmm.
at no cost. It's a pretty significant difference, although it is allowing some punching up to happen, which
Yeah.
we do like. But I think overall, I feel like this really falls into exactly what you started this whole tier list by saying, this whole idea of like, either I'm going to go wild on this flip turn
Yep.
or I'm going to get like mega one shotted. And if you lose Han on the flip turn, your deck is just a really, really, really like
Oh,
off kilter resource wise deck. Like, I think it'd be one thing if his front side had the ability to like ready a resource instead or something. So you could like, cause that would make it so, okay, I'm playing odd
sure.
costs, but they're kind of like even costs. So I can like
Right.
kind of, or do something like that. That would be cool. But instead I'm too afraid. I'm afraid of the odd costs really making my deck feel clunky, making me not play to the correct sort of caliber of card on the even turns. And I'm going to have some really cool flips sometimes, but also might just get kind of blown out by stuff. So go ahead and where are you putting Han?
I am putting Han right here.
Oh, it sounded more like you wanted to be S tier.
No. Again, the explosivity of his leader turn cannot be or understated. However, the flip side of the coin is again you kind of fall down the stairs a bit.
Yeah.
But I will say, like I said, the explosive leader turns they will swing the game so wildly if you can sequence it the right way, where you're just generated a ton of value.
Yeah.
Whereas with the other leaders that do the same kind of, okay, did I Christmas land to this? The value you're generating is not as mighty.
Sure. For me, I think I need to put him in B. I'll put him right at the top of it. But he's got some really sick plays. He looks really fun to play. I think it's asking a little too much. And when I think about set one Han versus this, I don't feel like I could put set one Han set four Han just one tier below set one Han.
Sure.
Like
That's fair.
comparing what I know as an S tier leader, this is like he's way better. This Han's got to be B.
But I also guess too, like if we were comparing all the leaders, it's a little different too.
Oh sure, I mean set one Han is really like
yeah
S S S S S.
Yeah, set one. Yeah, that's I was ready to say S plus for sure.
Yeah. Okay,
right, let's bring it home.
Final leader, we have Kaz, as he's known in the Resistance series, Kazuda Xiono, who is the best pilot in the galaxy. Action: exhaust a friendly unit, loses all abilities for this round. Take an extra action after this one. Then you can deploy him on 4 as either a 2/5 to ground with on attack, choose any number of friendly units. They lose all abilities for this round. Or as a pilot for +3/+3 with attached unit gains on attack, choose any number of friendly units. They lose all abilities for this round. All right. Talk about weird leaders also. There's an important thing to mention in the rules that's happening. We're going to use our little bit of judge power here to explain that it's been stated now on socials by Tyler that there is a rules change, and I think in a stream as well, there's a rules change coming to cards that lose all effects, saying now if they lose all effects for the phase, they also cannot gain them. Meaning that when you use powerful, aggressive cards like Heroic Sacrifice and the new Trench Run, you can pop those onto Kaz's things without actually losing the unit after the attack completes or taking the damage or whatever. You also get to do what else do you get to do with this? The Stolen AT Hauler, the legendary that everyone's like, I don't know what to do with this thing. That can run into something, die, and then your opponent doesn't get to play it again. We have a few new units that are like they'll die at the end of turn. That doesn't happen, obviously. And the big thing is Fireball.
Yeah.
Fireball, which is an extremely potent new ship that's a 2-drop 3/3. It's his ship, so it makes sense. 3/3 with ambush for 2 that just has to take a damage when the regroup phase starts. So the idea is you just keep deleting its ability.
Yeah.
And keep it around. I think Kaz is good, actually. I think this is going to be a strong leader, and people aren't going to immediately realize why, but it's just getting to jam 3 surprise strikes, 3 heroic sacrifice, and 3 trench run into your deck, and just like go for broke, crack in crazy amounts. Like, I think this, if anything, JTL is giving us a crazy amount of pretty potent aggro leaders that you can expect to see played against you, and you won't necessarily always be prepared for all of their different tricks.
Yeah, and you kind of just took everything from me. This guy unchecked is going to wipe the floor with, I mean, just wipe the absolute floor with your opponent. Again, I can heroic sacrifice my guy and it doesn't die, trench run, all that stuff. That's wild. And not only that, like to go back to Fireball real quick, even if you don't blank Fireball, it's still just a really insane card.
Yes.
Like probably like in the top 5 cards in the entire set for me. This package Kaz will bring to the table is going to be so potent and so explosive, and everything you said, and with the caveat that I think he is the best leader in the entire set.
Whoa.
I think
pretty high.
For my play style and what I would love to do with this card, he is the very first deck I'm going to be building. I just think that he is going to run people over. Just run people over. And again, taking the bad stuff, the bad text off of my stuff and getting another act. Oh, okay. No problem. Sure. Darn. You know,
yeah. I mean,
again, at the action economy this card brings, on top of letting me play these overpush cards that have bad sides, I mean, it's just awesome.
You know, I think you're right. I think he goes in S tier. Like when I think about it too, I think about Sabine Yellow is really just an aggro deck that has a random aggro character who drops early. We can have that, but actually then like gain some pretty crazy advantage that Sabine does have some inevitability with her pinging,
Yeah,
which is
for
kind of
sure.
cool. But I will sacrifice that to get to just like trench run and not take any damage back or whatever. Like that's or to heroic sacrifice, get the card draw, get the damage buff, and that's it. And then you take a lot of damage and we call it a day. Um, I'm gonna put him. I'm still gonna put him under Thrawn.
Okay.
And I'm doing that because I think if any deck is going to try to stand up to some of these aggro decks right now, we are looking at these vigilance leaders. We're looking at maybe Piett or Thrawn, and I'm going to put him between the two because he's going to come between them ultimately in their relationship and their sort of imperial bromance that they're going to have at the top tables.
All
Um,
right.
but I think that definitely is it's a scary I mean, and this could be a bias towards like aggressive decks at the start of a metagame for sure.
Absolutely. They're the comfort food
But
usually of a new set.
I mean, we're seeing some aggro leaders here in this set that are kind of unlike the ones we've seen the last two,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like I don't think in either last two sets were we able to look at a card and go like, this is kind of like Sabine, but and like here we did that with like three
So
leaders.
yeah.
So,
But
yeah, definitely, I think a good day for aggro players. I want to point out that both of us in our S tier have one leader in each aspect, which is really cool.
mm-hmm.
Um, definitely a push towards villainy. I think again, I still think maybe they're having trouble really landing on powerful heroism leaders.
Yeah.
Um, other than Han, the old Han. But there's still, I think, plenty of leaders to explore and enjoy, and a lot of fun to be had. Jason, do you have any final thoughts for the audience here on our?
Yeah, my list is right. Yours is
Oh,
wrong.
that makes
Thank you
sense. Yeah,
so much. No,
they're so close. They're not even that
yeah,
different.
no, they're really not. But for me, I am an aggressive player at heart, so I'm always going to skew towards the aggressive leaders. It just so happens that the aggressive leader I highlighted as the best leader is just going to have so many tools to work with, and it's going to be so awesome. And it's a really cool. I keep talking about design space being explored. This is so fun. Like I'm so excited to be able to explore these really pushed units with downsides and just be like, well, I guess they don't have those anymore. And now you have to deal with that plus getting punched in the face. You're exactly right too. I still think there's an issue with the parity between villainy and heroism, which that gap hasn't quite cleared just yet in leader design, at least in my eyes. But this is a really sweet set. And even though we kind of canned some leaders, don't let that dissuade you from playing it and proving us wrong. We're just two guys on the internet with microphones and an opinion. But yeah, this was a lot of fun. This was really cool.
Most importantly, you guys have your own opinions out there.
Yes.
And what we want now is you to head down to the comments and tell us exactly where we went wrong throughout this list. Maybe Trench is actually the hot new thing. Maybe Trench is like S+ tier. Maybe Lando, where we just didn't get it, man. But those shields are huge. Shields on Sentinels, that's okay. Maybe I don't know.
Pretty good, yeah.
Or maybe we're just mega overrating aggro and it's just dead because of some card that we're not thinking about. Let us know down below where we went wrong, or if you want to, let us know where we went right. And if you enjoy Star Wars Unlimited, we're making a big push on the channel in Jump to Lightspeed to make sure we're getting you guys really exciting content, especially if you're looking for brews for some of these C to A tier characters.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're going to see some of that coming on. And of course, we've got our episodes of Galactic Ambition continuing to put out, giving you all of our thoughts on everything Star Wars Unlimited related, including our criticism and our praise every episode. Plenty of both. So hope you guys did enjoy this one. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you want more, like it if you did enjoy it, and leave a comment letting us know what you thought. And we'll see you guys all in the next one.
Ooh, a little snap thing. See ya.
Yeah, it's kind of like my...
Yeah.